Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome in today's webinar on the nutrition scenario, present and the future, organized by Department of Food and Nutrition, Maharani Kasiswari College. Myself, Tanima Pal, and I thank you all for taking your time out and being here today. As we all know, September is our National Nutrition Month, and we are celebrating it through this webinar and some other programs throughout the month. Now, I will take the pride of welcoming today's chairperson, Dr. Seema Chakravarti, our honorable and loving principal madam. A warm welcome to our eminent speakers, Dr. Devlina Gosvami and Dr. Jm Subbarao. I welcome our convener, Dr. Anita Chakravarti. A warm welcome to Mrs. Paromita Banerjee, Executive Committee Member of Alumni Association of our department. I also welcome the participants of lecture competition and Nutrilysia. Finally, I welcome all our participants in the Zoom platform and YouTube Live. Hope you will like the session. Thank you. Now, I would request our chairperson, Dr. Seema Chakravarti, for the inaugural address. Over to you, madam.
Good evening. Good evening to everybody.
Yes, good evening, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening to everybody. I thank everybody in our college, especially the Department of Food and Nutrition, for arranging for such a nice webinar on a nice topic that is always very important for our human society, maybe for every society in every country, every time. And the nutrition, its present and future, actually this is a subject, such a subject that that always to be reviewed. Actually, what is a nutritious food? That maybe we know a little bit know, and the subject people know more. But what is important for doing research is what is the availability in one country or in one season. Maybe we will have to know in our country which products we can avail much more easily. That means the food grains we get more here, or in which season what we should eat. On that, lot of researches are going on all over the world, and we will know from today's discussion more a lot about this, what is going on for present, and what we should eat, what type of food we should take in future, because things are changing. The nature is changing, the weather is changing due to global warming, everything is changing. And due to the recent virus, the COVID-19, maybe in near future, there may be rapid 21. there may be other virus, and the virologists, doctors and chemists will do research on the vaccination, how to prevent that disease. But what the nutritionists can do, are doing actually, how our body is healthy, so that we can fight a lot against the virus or any other type of disease. What we find during present days also, the maximum death occurs for people aged or people who are having a high blood sugar, hypertension, all this, because by the food habits, if we don't control our blood sugar or hypertension or problems in blood circulation, maybe some people have blockages for blood circulations, they are to be very much conscious whenever there is any possibility of any attack. especially for such pandemic situation. So the research in food and nutrition is very much important for such situations. And today I acknowledge a lot our two speakers. That is, first one is Dr. Subbarao M. Gavara Bharapu, and the second one is Dr. Devlina Gosvami. I am very much grateful and thankful to them because they have taken out from their precious time for us today. And I also thank the audience from all over the world. People are showing interest to attend our webinar, and we will have interaction with people all over world, because this is a subject of that type. Everybody needs to know something about this. And of course, what I said at the beginning, that what is affordable by maximum people in any country, in any time, that is the main objective to find out. That is the goal of the all the researches, so that maximum people get benefited with the suggestions or advices given by the nutritionists and people doing research on food and nutrition. And I hope all of us will enjoy a lot the talk the speakers will give us, and we will enjoy our interaction session, everything. And we have some other programs also arranged by the department. So we will be here present in the webinar to take part as audience, or maybe as player, or as speaker, all over as friends. All of us will enjoy.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for such a lovely address. Now, I will take the pride to introduce today's keynote speaker, Dr. Anita Chakravarti, Assistant Professor and HOD of the Department of Food and Nutrition, Maharani Kasiswari College, under the University of Calcutta. She has completed her postgraduate and graduation from the University of Calcutta, ranking first class first in both the examinations, and is a gold medalist too. She has topped in college service examination as well. She has done her PhD from the University of Calcutta and worked extensively on diabetes and medicinal plants. She has authored 4 books on food and nutrition and has several national and international publications in journals like the British Food Journal, Journal of Food Microbiology, and many more. She is currently carrying on a postdoctorate research with International Rice Research Institute under British funding. She has delivered several lectures as invited speaker in various scientific seminars and chaired many such sessions as well. She worked in various community projects and is an invited expert in Food and Nutrition Board and various other government and non-government organizations. She is a consultant nutritionist for many food industries. She is a popular face on several television channels and also on radio talk shows as an expert on nutrition and dietetics. She is also an advisor and consultant for various food companies. And above all, a very energetic and joyous person with a good administrative qualities. I request Dr. Anita Chakravarti to deliver the keynote address. Over to you, madam.
Namaskar, and thank you so much, Tanima, for this lovely, detailed, and humbling introduction. It really means a lot coming from a colleague of my department. It is, yes, as you said, it's a very vibrant department with a lot of young, energetic people, and more so because we have a very vibrant and energetic principal madam with us, who, in spite of all negative all problems, she's also not very well today, as I know, but she always joins us, she always supports us, encourages us with her lovely words and her support and guidance all through. So thank you so much, ma'am, for your lovely address. Coming to the webinar today, the topic of the webinar, yes, it is the celebration of the National Nutrition Month under the directive of the central government. Before 2018, the National Nutrition Month was actually celebrated just for one single week. And when people realized that 1 week was not enough, in fact, 1 month is also not enough. It is something that has to be done every day. The subject nutrition, the word is small. The word might sound simple, but it is something that is the foundation, that lays the foundation for health and well being all through. What has come up is that nutrition is being used as a paramedical stream. This year, in fact, like every year, this year also, we have a theme. In fact, this year the theme was a very different concept. Poshan ke liye पौधे was the idea given by the central government. Planning of kitchen garden, encouraging kitchen garden. We had lot of plans, yes, but unfortunately, due the COVID pandemic has stopped all that. But obviously, in the days of darkness, in the days of depression, we have come up with ways of overcoming that. So there was also another theme of severe acute malnourished children, the SAM children as we call them. So we were planning to go out, reach out to them, but obviously again that was not possible. So we have planned this program in a very different manner. We like a normal webinar that we are having all through. This is a webinar, yes, and we have two wonderful speakers with us. We also had a lecture competition. You will get to know about it in detail later on. We have a Nutri-Knowledge magazine, the Nutrition magazine as we call it. The third edition will be published today under the auspices of our principal ma'am, respected principal ma'am. We have Nutrilicious, the lovely healthy recipes prepared by our students, guided by our teachers, the teachers of the department. That video would be released today as well. So many activities. In fact, going back to where it all started, I would like to share a very small story, but interesting one. When life first started on this earth, and the first color, have you ever thought about it? I was actually speaking about it in another webinar. The first color that came into this earth was green. It was first identified by a group of researchers, anthropologists, who had gone to Africa, Sahara Desert, and they were excavating something else, but they suddenly found a colony of cyanobacteria. And from there, they first found the color green, the first color that came to this earth. What a lovely concept, the vibrant color green. And that was the first specks of chloroplast, chlorophyll pigment. And why am I talking about chlorophyll? Because that is the place, the kitchen where every food molecule is synthesized. And this National Nutrition Month is the celebration of that food, the nutrition, the nutritious, healthy diet, and it's a celebration of the people, for the people, and by the people, of a healthy life. More so needed during the times of the COVID pandemic, obviously, each and every day. So, without much delay, I would like to pass on the proceedings or carry on the program and pass on to our speakers. And I would like to request Dr. Shongita Manna to take over from me and introduce our first speaker. Dr. Shongita Manna.
Hello.
Yes, you're audible.
Hello.
Dr. Manna,
Yes.
you're audible.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now I am introducing Dr. Devlina Gosvami Sewal in this program. Welcome, Dr. Devlina Gosvami Sewal in this webinar. She has graduated with her PhD from Texas Tech University. Since graduating from Biharilal College, she has spent 10 years of her research career in molecular biology and CTC research. She presented her work in many national and international poster presentations. She has over 6 peer-reviewed published papers in international journals. She is now pursuing her career in neuroscience at Baylor College of Medicine in Department of Ophthalmology, working on development of synaptic connection in rod, cone, and rod bipolar cells. Please, Dr. Goswami, you can start your very interesting lecture today. Topic GM versus non-GM, the debate continues. We all would request you, Dr. Goswami, please start your very interesting lecture.
Namaskar to everybody. Shubhamalaya and welcome everyone. A technical question. Shall I start my screen?
Yes, Devlina, I think the permission has been sent. You can, Dr. Swell, you can share your screen. The permission has been given. Share screen option is there. Is it?
Sorry, I'm not sure. I'm not getting that.
Okay, do you want me to share the screen from here? That can be done.
Give me 1 second. Where I can get that? The share screen thing.
If I can help you, Dr. Swell, there's a share screen option down below. You can see a green arrow. Yeah, you just click on that. Just click on that.
Yeah, I got it now.
Yeah.
I just got it. Okay. Awesome.
Yes, your screen is visible. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry for this technical glitch.
No problem.
Let's start.
No yes.
So welcome everyone. Good evening and good morning in the respective area and respective part of the world. My heartiest regards to Dr. Anita Chakravarti and Dr. Principal Chakravarti to invite me to this talk. Thanks to all the organizer and the tech support team to put together. There's a wonderful web platform. So my special thanks first, I wanted to go to my Dr. Elizabeth Zuniga Sanchez and the Baylor College of Medicine to support me in this process. My reason to leave Kolkata was to continue my journey as a researcher and distribute my knowledge to my fellow students and future generation. When we hear nutrition, the first thing came into our mind is that's food. Sometimes it's healthy and sometimes it's unhealthy. So today's topic came to me as like over a lunch with my boss and colleague. And so I found it very interesting and I found this opportunity to research on it and have an understanding what exactly we are eating, GMO or non-GMO. So the first question comes, it's what is GMO or gene modified organism? It's a very simple way. It is something that doesn't occur naturally or spontaneously. Interesting, it's like inserting a transgenic DNA. It incorporated into the host genome and the organism encodes the new protein from the new strand of DNA. This has been going on since 1980, but it has been commercialized since 1996. So due to this technology, world could get better production of rice, corn, soy, you name it, mostly the staple food. So I will give you $10 if can anyone tell me what it is? Anyone? So
I think you can type in the chat option box because we are not allowed unmuting, so they can chat in the yeah.
Sure, everybody can answer me anyway.
Somebody has written banana. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that is a banana. I owe you $10. So this is the banana that we are used to, that we all eat. We hardly know the old type of banana. So this is the old type of watermelon, which becomes this watermelon, beautiful, no seed, juicy, and fantastic red in color. So this is a beautiful picture of gene grafting, where in laboratory, they invented tomato. They call it tomato, it's tomato and potato. So they breed or gene modified it. So on the top, we get the tomatoes. And when we lift the entire plant out, we get potatoes. So most amazing feature is about this photo, how many we saw a corn like this way. This is the original corn. We are not familiar with this. What we all know is this corn. We all ate this corn. So the question is, how many are we in this modern world, even raised with non-GMO food? Probably none, at least in my generation. Let's get into facts. So ISAAA shows that uses of biotech crops has increased 112-fold since 1996, and India holds 5th position in using the biotech crops. So here in this slide, I'm trying to draw down all the process of the production of GM crops. The first method, I hope you can see it on your left-hand side. So it's showing the bacterial incorporation. That's the first invented method, laboratory-based method that we did in the lab. So a virus will transport a plasmid into a plant source, and then the plant will start generating the GMO product. So that was the first one. So why we stopped that? We probably still have it, but the bacteria could not able to transport the plasmid to different types or varieties of plants. So then the biologists found a fantastic method called gene method, so which is like right here. So where they are incorporating in a particle, the DNA is incorporated in a particle, which it's now new technology, is a nanotechnology. That's somewhat that time when the nanotechnology comes to a part. So we incorporate that DNA, it's called gunshot methods, and directly into the plant chromosome. So on your right-hand side, which is like this way. So basically on your left-hand side, what you are seeing, that's not only applicable for plants, it could be applicable for any cell which has chromosome or nucleus which can replicate. So the right-hand side, which is showing the process of the flow chart, that how the plants and the GM crops are produced. So the first step is identification, the specific quality. What that means, that do we want beta carotene? Do we want the golden rice? So there would be no blindness. Do we want no worm? Do we don't want some dots on the fruits? So depending on that quality, we find the gene which is responsible for those quality to eliminate. So we find the genes which are the good genes that we identify. Then we purify the gene. Then if we find there is any problem in ATGC and all the consequences, so we modify them in the lab. Then we transfect. So the transfection is basically the gene is incorporating to a plant source. So just quick transfection and transduction. There are two things. One, transfection is on the plants and transduction is on the animals or animal cells or mammalians. Then the confirmation of the presence of the gene. And then we move on to the field trials. And then we detect or measure or whatever is required for the safety production for the marketing. So this slide is the molecular level representation of the DNA that incorporated and what stays in the DNA strands. Just wanted to show you the slide to show you the evolution of the GM crops. When it started in 1996, it was very simple, it's very straightforward. There was a promoter, a trait, and a terminator of that target DNA strand. But then later on, we incorporated many things into it. So the next slide is basically, it's coming down that how we assess. So the assessment of this new GMO, it's very complicated. So I'm going a little bit towards, I don't know, I'm trying to explain as much as possible the differentiation or comparison between the GMO and non-GMO. I'm not really going against GMO, or I'm not going against non-GMO. I'm gonna place it in front of you and let you guys decide what exactly you are looking forward to, what you are eating, whether you are feeling healthy, whether those GMOs giving you any sort of problem. Lately, there are a lot of allergies, a lot of health issues. A lot of people says we don't feel the way we used to feel. So I'm just gonna lay all the states and all the facts in front of you. So the assessment, I found it a beautiful research article, and they are saying that the food needs to be assessed case by case, every food and in every state. It's very difficult. So purpose of use of GMO. So are we using GMO in a contained, or we are exposing to the environment? That's very important. I remember my father did a lot of colony, like column, I guess that's what it used to call. The rows are different rows, and the red rows and the yellow rows, the column, and get a different color of rows. So you know what? That is also producing a different variety, different gene incorporation. So when we are producing GMO crops, are just containing to us, or we are exposing all those DNAs, all those organisms to the environment? So are the GMO are only consumed by human? Answer is no. Animals' feed is even GMO feed. Are cows' milk considered as non-GMO if they have been fed GMO food? So there are a lot of questions. What from all the questions, what I feel is labeling. Labeling is very important. What are we eating? What's the threshold of labeling? And I've started researching, and I found out it's such an interesting information. Even in US, we didn't do label GM food until 2014. There was no legislation. There is no strict legislation to put label on GM food. Only UE, it's like European Union, they have the only legislation to put GM food, GM labeling food. Also in that clause, it is already a clause there. So that comes a threshold. If the threshold of GM food is less than 0.1 to 1%, you don't need to label them as a GM food. Anything above 1%, you need to label it. So where we are standing as an Indian, does India has any sort of labeling process? I started researching again. And I found out that India passed a new regulation on 2018, just marked the date. It's like 2-3 years ago, that you need to label GMO food as a GMO food. But again, another clause, if the GM level is less than 5%, you don't need to label it as GMO food. So local GMO consumption should be restricted in their parameters. By exporting, there's a higher risk of UGM contamination. So here's a new word. What is UGM? It's the unauthorized, genetically modified food. So every GM plant needs to go through with the field trial. And what is that? It is possible to have a cross-contamination, the plant from former plantation. So for an example, we plant X GM plant in a field, and in the later on, we plant Y GM plant on the same field. But there is always a chance that Y GM plant might get contaminated from the previous X plant. And that is called UGM into the Y plant. So the reason all this fight started, GMO food, we want to be healthy, labeling, all this started because the first time in USA, there is a soy and sorghum seed has been tested in the same field with the GM maize has been planted before. And when they planted soy and sorghum in there, they found that GM maize has a lot of stress, their genetical component contaminating the sorghum and soybean. So what should be our ethics? Our ethics should be find our safety in our food and the interference of the natural evolution of the organisms. We don't know what we are ingesting, which creates a lot of food insecurity. Am I having right food? Is this food giving me that? Is that food not giving me this? So where we are standing, psychologically, we are tormented completely. So finally and foremost is the disruption of natural diversity. This is a result of cross-pollination of genes from GM crops to natural foods and potential impact of ecosystem. Here, I will take a pause and I want you guys to think what I am saying. I'm saying that GMO is a double-edged sword. Number one, with GM food, we're able to feed the entire huge population. Without GM food, there is no way we can generate tons of acres of rice. GM food gave us a lot of good things. We incorporated beta carotene in rice, which called golden rice. It happened in Thailand. And by that, we decrease a lot of ability to eliminate our night blindness or vitamin A deficiency. Number two, huge money on these fields, huge benefit to the biotech companies, creating a lot of jobs. We all need money. We all need jobs. Number three, we are eliminating a lot of diseased plants and fruits from the market. These are the huge benefit of GM food. But at the same time, it is a tampering with Mother Nature. We are completely blind about what exactly we are eating. And that takes me to detection of GMO. So how we detect, how we are supposed to detect. So there are different level of detection of GMO, and it has been done. The first thing is protein-based. Remember that molecular slide of the DNA and the plant incorporation. So we all know, or some knows in the molecular field, that whenever there's a DNA strand and it starts a start codon, and then we start reading. And when we are reading, we are basically generating a protein. So it's the same concept. We can detect this GMO through the protein base. But the biggest drawback with this protein is sometimes it is so tiny amount or below the amount, it's hardly detectable. Because I do it all the time in the lab, protein detection. That is usually by the Western blot, who are already know in the lab best. So we do electrophoresis and we detect the proteins, protein band. But if the protein band is too low or too high, it's non-detected. If the protein amount is too low, we cannot detect it. So this is a big, huge drawback of protein-based detection, but it still happens in the industry. So the second one that comes is the DNA-based. It is most efficient and a cost-effective technique. It's very easy. I do it all the time. Pretty much every day I do it in my research. So it is, we call it a Taq polymerase. That's an enzyme. And we have a green dye that eliminates the fluorescence. And what we do, it's PCR. So the DNA, we basically double, triple, and it's just we exponentially build the DNA. And then we run an electrophoresis, it's called agarose gel, and we find the DNA bands there. That's a very efficient and very cost effective. It's probably costs like $5 or so per DNA to detect it. But there are a lot of new process came into the market. PCR is a very old technique. We have real-time PCR. Those who do not know what is PCR, it's a polymerase chain reaction. And the RT-PCR is the real-time polymerase chain reaction. And we do those. There are a lot of DNA fingerprinting, macroarray, and the newest facility is the next generation sequencing. I would not lie to you, I never did that. So these are all the detection process that we have. So I found this TED Talk in a YouTube video. It has a very good video. Watch it when you have time. It's especially for the students. It is wonderful. It's by Dr. Pamela. And she is a genetical engineer, and she is married to she's married to a farmer who is just plants, and she is a genetical engineer. So it's a wonderful presentation. I got a lot of information from them. It's very informative. If you guys want to go ahead and play that, I don't want to play it here because it's a 20-minute video. So I got allotted 20 minutes to talk. So whenever you get a chance, please copy this and watch it. It's a beautiful video in TED Talk. So I am going to wrap it up, my presentation. And I definitely can say that question still remains. I did not really answer anything. I stated the facts. So this chicken is my question. Is this chicken is GMO or non-GMO? So they lay the eggs. So those eggs are GMO or non-GMO? So if the chicken is eating GMO food, are their eggs will be called GMO or non-GMO? So how we answer that, how I answer that, actually I don't, and all I say is thank you.
I think this was so amazing. Each one of us, even the students, I'm sure, were extremely beneficial, have been benefited from this talk. Devlina, thank you. Dr. Swell, thank you so much. It was Amazing, really. And we'll take the interactions later on because
Sure.
we have our second speaker with us, and
Sure.
Dr. Subbarao is there. I request Sajida to take over and introduce our second speaker. Thank you. Sajida, I hope you can hear me. While Sajida is unmuting herself, I'm sure there are a lot of questions regarding GM and non-GM food, and we will take up all the questions during the interaction. I'm sure Dr. Swell will be with us again. So over to Sajida once more.
Yes. Hello?
Yes, Sajida, you're audible. Yes.
Okay.
Continue.
Good evening to everyone present here. Our second eminent speaker for this evening is Dr. Jm Subbarao. Dr. Jm Subbarao is Scientist E and Deputy Director, currently heading the Nutrition Information, Communication and Health Education Division of ICMR National Institute of Nutrition. He has a PhD in Health Communication from the University of Hyderabad. He was ICMR International Fellow at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, Baltimore, USA in 2013. His research interests are in health, nutrition, and food safety communication, with special emphasis on social, behavioral, and cultural aspects of communicative processes. His research and praxis go beyond the traditional research activities and integrate translational communication science with community-based approaches. He has been honored with numerous prestigious awards, with the recent one being the Mid-Career Award from the American Society of Nutrition 2020. He has over 67 publications in reputed national and international journals. He is associated with FSSAI as a member of the scientific panel on food labeling claims and advertisements. He is a member of editorial boards of Journal of Nutrition Education and Behavior and American Journal of Health Behavior. He teaches nutrition communication to various regular and ad hoc training programs of the Institute and various other prestigious institutes and universities, guides and co-guides a number of research scholars. Today he will be speaking on the topic promoting diet diversity, being vocal for local. Sir, we are honored to have you with us today in this webinar. I request you to kindly begin your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sajida and Dr. Anindita for this opportunity. I hope you are able to hear me, all of you.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yeah,
And the
thank you so
pleasure
much.
is all ours. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you so much. I congratulate the speaker who spoke before me, and she's touched upon a very interesting topic. Uh, and today's topic, I mean, when Dr. Anindita asked me about this talk, she placed a wide range of topics in front of me and then asked me to choose from that. But I thought, diet diversity is something that we've been working very closely often. And then in the recent past, in all my webinars, I have not touched the topic. So I thought I should do it for this group. And I'll just try to share my slides. Yeah, I hope you're able to see the slides, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your
Okay.
screen is visible.
Yes, yes. Okay, then I'll put it on slideshow. Yeah, this is the topic. I just wantedly chose the second tagline for this, being vocal for local. Uh, that, in a way, talks about the current political disposition that we've got, and then the kind of idea that the prime minister is trying to put into the people's minds. That apart, I think in relation to food, we've been always talking about being vocal for local foods. And yes, that is a very, very important aspect of ensuring diversity for everyone. So since the larger section of today's audience is student community, I've made things as simple as possible. And in this presentation, what I would be essentially doing is would be touching upon in my introduction, I'd be touching upon the current nutrition scenario in Indian context, and why diet diversity is important. And in relation to diet diversity, how is India faring? At the end, I would just take you through one case study of a current ongoing research project, which is almost in its conclusion stages, to give you an overview as to how we want to contextualize the messages for promoting diet diversity, in a targeted communication intervention. Before I start, I would like to thank my student, now colleague, Dr. Archana, for her help in preparing these slides. And also I would like to thank my student Paramita for actually getting me introduced to Dr. Anindita. Thank you so much. And yeah, I mean, as you all know, India is at a nutrition transition phase, and this transition phase has been on for last 20 to 30 years. If you see different studies and prevalence studies at in Indian context and at rural or urban locations, what you would essentially see is India is today confronting with problem which is little different from what it is in many developed nations. Today, we all know that India is known for undernutrition. So when underweight and undernutrition, when we talk about the nutritional status or when we talk about malnutrition in Indian context, we usually tend to talk about the undernutrition that people are suffering from. But that was the single burden that we had faced, quite some time back. But later came, with the economic liberalization and other things, later came the issues of overweight and obesity in Indian context as well. If you see the recent research uh, from world over, you can see that it is the lower and middle income countries, and especially rural areas, which are driving this obesity epidemic, which is called globesity, the global obesity epidemic, with a much faster pace. I don't say, when I say this, what I mean to tell you is that the rate at which the overweight, obesity, and associated non-communicable diseases in Indian context or any other context are growing at a much rapid pace in rural areas than in urban areas. Of course, yes, urban areas too are contributing, but the pace at which it is happening is much rapid in rural areas. This is a different context in India because till about recent past, we've always assumed that the problems of overweight and obesity and non-communicable diseases are confined to very rich and affluent communities and urban areas and people who eat a lot and are sedentary. But these notions are now is the connection stable? I am getting a message that it is not stable. Are you all able to see the slides?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Just in case I, my internet connectivity, because of heavy rains in Hyderabad, there is an issue with internet connectivity. Please let me know. I'll tether through from my mobile phone. Okay. So what I was trying to say is the double burden is an issue, and it so happened that the transition studies, nutrition transition studies, bring out a startling fact that the same people who were at one point of time undernourished or had problems of wasting, stunting, low birth weight, as they grew up into the cohort of people, when they grew up into adults, at the age of 40 or 45, they started having issues. As they grow up, the economic standards, as they move up they migrate to different places. A lot of things are changing in Indian context. And the same people who at one point of time were undernourished today are confronting problems of overweight, obesity, and non-communicable diseases. But the common thing, or the thing that is common to both these groups, is the deficiencies of micronutrients, which is called the hidden hunger. So India is not just home for many undernourished, but also it is contributing to the a fast growing overweight obesity epidemic, including non-communicable diseases like diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, and things like that. And but in both these groups, there is a severe deficiency of micronutrients. The micronutrient malnutrition is rampantly there. So it is no more a single burden nor a double burden. What India confronts today is the triple burden of malnutrition. That's the context in which we are positioning today's talk. So when we get to hidden hunger or malnutrition, what usually globally, if you see the strategies that are suggested, especially for micronutrient deficiencies, are fortification or supplementation. But studies have shown that there is little and slow progress, and it also requires huge investment. If you see iron folic acid distribution or maybe any other micronutrient supplementation that needs to be given, it needs a lot of logistic infrastructure support, and it also is an issue that demands a lot of finance and also a lot of manpower. And it is generally a mid-term strategy that we look at, or sometimes short-term strategies. It can be said that they are short-term strategies, but one strategy that usually is long-term and it can sustain is diversification of diet, which means ensure that people have different varieties of foods. And all these foods, as you all know, no one nutrient is rich. I mean, no one food is rich in all nutrients. So there is a necessity for having diversity of various foods that people have, and that when achieved, a food-based approach is definitely a more sustainable and a more viable option. But it needs a lot of effort, and it is a very long-term goal towards which we are all working. So there are a lot of interventions which have been done on smaller scale, but there is not much sufficient evidence that this can be scaled up and continued in long term, because all the interventions that are done on a short term basis with external intervention. And coming towards diversity, I already touched upon the topic. It's nothing but consuming a variety of foods from all food groups. Now you ask me, what are all food groups? As of now, the dietary guidelines describes foods, all foods, as energy dense, bodybuilding, protective, wherein you have various kinds of foods incorporated. But this is not all. The current dietary guidelines revision is on at the National Institute of Nutrition, and the foods have been further divided into 13 different food groups. So I mean each country divides food groups into different things, but the idea is to tell people and ensure that people draw their foods in their daily diets from as many groups as possible. So this is the latest My Plate for Indians that the NIN has given for a model diet for model diet, which can ensure about 2000 kilocalories of energy in a day. And when you place the foods that you have to eat in a day, this is not representative of weight but the volume. When in a day, your plate should look somewhat like this. Okay, you should have representation of fruit, vegetable, roots and tubers, and green leafy vegetable, and also pulses, and egg, meat, fish, whatever. I mean, some from this group, some from this group, some from nuts, and some from fats and oils, and some from cereals, with onus of including millets and things like that, whole grains at least if possible, of about 40% of the daily intake. If you see, there's the cereals are required about 270 grams, pulses about 90, milk and milk products about 300 ml, and then you have about 350 grams of vegetable and 150 gram of fruit, which together comes to around 450 to 500 grams. And people may think it is extremely difficult to achieve this, but may not be. as long as you are thinking of getting seasonally available and locally available foods. So let's see further as to what the diet diversity here is. Of course, the diet diversity, as you've seen, the plate says obtaining all nutrients from single foods is not possible. Therefore, regular intake of each of the food groups is essential, and this is very, very important. So, how is diet diversity measured? There are a lot of ways in which diet diversity is measured. Depends on the country and the context-specific scales that have been created. I will deal with one of the context-specific diet diversity scale that we are trying to evolve for in the Indian context, the method at least, to ensure micronutrient-rich foods. The classification of number of I don't know why the line is drawn. I think the host can uh, disable that. Okay, the classification of number of food groups and cutoff values varies from country to country or across the country with age groups. And the food variety score, there are different kinds of things that people have evolved. The food variety score, the diet diversity score, dietary serving score, healthy eating score. Healthy eating index actually refers to how much of adherence is there to the different varieties of foods that have been suggested in the country's respective dietary guidelines, and the food quality index and so on. There are many such indices available. So the diet diversity has been strongly associated. Why diet diversity is important? Diet diversity has been associated with dietary micronutrient adequacy, not the supplementation. Dietary intake of micronutrient and its adequacy. It has been linked to, and micronutrient status adequacy also it has been linked to, and growth of children and cognition among children, and it has been also linked with, especially fruit and vegetable intake has been linked with good gut health and probiotics and other things. And of course also has a relationship in preeclampsia. So let us just take the example of infant and young child feeding practices. And WHO says, I'm sure all of you as nutrition students know, infant and young child feeding practices, the one we talk about the feeding practices that are adopted between 6 months, that is after the exclusive breastfeeding time, from 6 months to 23 months, that is till the child becomes 2 years old, till the end of 23, that means till 24. So foods have been actually grouped into 7 different categories. This is according to WHO: grains, roots, and tubers. It's energy dense, legumes and nuts, dairy products and flesh foods, eggs, vitamin A, rich foods, and other fruits and vegetables for general micronutrients and fiber as well. But of these, if a child is receiving at least 4 groups a day, then the child's diet can be considered diverse. Okay, I hope you all got the point. There are 7 groups. Of the 7 groups, the child is able to get to at least 4 groups in a day. That day, the child's minimum diet diversity requirement is supposed to have been met. So one is diet diversity. Then one is, what is the minimum meal frequency? The minimum meal frequency is nothing but the minimum number of times the children should be fed solid food or semi-solid food or soft foods other than mother's milk. That's 2 times for breastfed infants, 3 times for 9 to 24 months children, and 4 times for non-breastfed children between 6 and 24 months. So this is the minimum meal frequency that is required. When minimum meal frequency is seen in addition with the minimum diet diversity, remember the 4 of the 7 groups, then it is called minimum acceptable diet that a child is getting. So now let us observe in Indian context from various studies how these minimum acceptable diet is faring. If you see that this is from Poshan Abhiyan 2019 report, it takes data both from National Family Health Survey 4 and also the CNNS study. If you see these two, you can see the percentage of minimum diet diversity that the children are achieving is only about 20 to 21% of children are achieving this. and the percentage of minimum meal frequency is also not more than 42. Different studies show different things. I mean, both the studies show little different, but more or less they are akin. And then you see a percentage with minimum acceptable diet is just about 10%. So this is the reason why we need to promote diet diversity in Indian context, because a child's nutrition status, especially micronutrient status, has long-term repercussions on the child health, even not just as a child, child growth, development, cognition, and school performance, but also when the child grows up into an adult, on the productivity of that particular child, and also the productivity of the entire nation in general. So this is the minimum percentage of diet diversity that is achieved only among 20-21% of the people. This again is from Poshan Abhiyan's latest report, which shows the coverage of health and nutrition interventions. If you see the interventions that are related to ensuring supplementation of food and diversity, you see principally two of them: the food supplementation and food supplementation at least once a week. The yellow bar is about how India in general is faring, and the dots represent various states at various levels. So each state is at a varied level of achieving this. But in general, if you see, on the whole in India, only about 40 to 45% people are still getting the supplementation, or the reach of supplementation is only to so many people, and therefore the diversity also is a bit compromised. I will take you through the different food groups, and when previous in the CNNS survey, what they have done is, in the previous 24 hours of the survey, how children have consumed, 2 to 4 year children have consumed various foods. This is very interesting to see that grain cereal is highest, 96%. When it comes to dairy products, it's very less. Also, legumes and nuts, it's very less. Eggs is less, and flesh foods is very less. And vitamin is okay, about 50%, but fruit and vegetable just about 40%. And at the same time, if you take 5 to 19-year children, you can see the diet diversity is again compromised. You see 5 to 9 years and 10 to 19 years, two bars, the orange bar and the brown bar, it relates to. So milk consumption is 61. I say the fruit and vegetables and dark green leafy vegetables, the diversity is so less among children, especially fruit and eggs and vegetables. Why this is happening in Indian context? At the same time, you see the diet diversity among adults. We take the dietary guidelines in relation to dietary guidelines suggested for Indians, how the Indian men and women are faring. This is, of course, data from the National Nutrition Monitoring Bureau 2012, because it's a bit old, but that's the only data that looks at the dietary intakes, unlike the others. If you see this, cereals and pulses, we have good intake. When the suggested is about 720 grams, you have about 400 to 550, 450 to 500 being reached, being reached. But however, sorry, when 490 is suggested, 450 is reached. When in pulses, what is recommended is 60, and what people are consuming is 31. And similarly, GLV, when 100 grams are recommended, 18 grams are being consumed. In the 450 grams, you see 100 grams of GLB need to be consumed. Similarly, other vegetables and roots and tubers, whatever you take, when compared to recommendation, the consumption is abysmally low, both in men as well as women. And this is very touching scenario, because when it comes to yeah, let's also see the nutrient intakes. These also are compromised. And yeah, when you take the fruit and vegetable intake of our four major micronutrients, you can see the iron intake, where is it coming from? Largely, whatever iron people are getting largely from cereals, that is not desirable. And similarly, contribution to vitamin C, the fruits that are giving are very, very less, whatever they are getting. So similarly for the intake of folate, similarly for the intake of zinc and other things. Why I say this scenario is very alarming, because when you take the horticulture statistics of India, this is 2015 statistics. The recent statistics of 2019 have 18 have also come, but they are no different. But you can just see India tops the world in terms of its production in most, or at least it is second to only second to China or sometimes Brazil, in terms of different kinds of vegetables, tomatoes, vegetables, melons, okra, cauliflower, whatever. So we have highest production in anywhere than any other country in the world. Similarly, if you take fruit, the projected population of India for 2013, as recorded in 2015 statistics, was this much. And approximately, even India's population is almost the same now, 1.3 somehow. But the 1.3 billion. If you see the food production, fruit production, vegetable production, it's all very good. When you just take the per capita availability, just divide by the amount of fruit and vegetable that is produced in Indian context, you can see the per capita availability is close to 376 grams, which is close to 400 grams, and very near to what NIN recommends for people. But despite per capita availability being more, people are not consuming. What could be the reason? What ensures diet diversity? Let's say diet diversity is influenced by two large contexts. One is the enabling environment that is provided at the national, state, and local level. Second is the enabling environment that is created at the personal or family level. So what this enabling environment has, if you say that the diet diversity is largely based on the food environment, what do you get in the local vicinity of you, and what foods are made available to you easily, and what foods are affordable. So what are the food environment, again, as I said, is determined by the availability, accessibility, affordability, acceptability. We've added in our research a concept called accommodation. Accommodation is nothing but the willingness of the local vendors to add the food or sell the food that is in demand or that is liked by the buyers. Similarly, accommodation also is uh, the foods that are available, which are nutrient rich, being accommodated or in the diets of the people on part of the consumer. So this is one, and these are again the availability, accessibility, affordability, and acceptability are dependent on the agriculture, the amount of foods that are produced, and the production, and at the same time the economic aspects of the person whose diversity is in. So when diversity is there, the desired health can be achieved. But what impedes achieving that desired health is the knowledge, the practices, the attitudes of the people about diversity. When these are set, see, these are all macro concepts, these are all micro and individual concepts. When all are addressed, the diversity can be achieved. When diversity is achieved, it can definitely lead to uh, uh, desired health of the individual or of the community. So this is from one of our colleagues, Dr. Nair, who worked on micronutrients largely. He has actually given this conceptual diagram on the path of achieving sustainable strategy for diet diversity. So that's what I said. How do you achieve these both at individual level as well as at the policy and national and local levels to get to this? Why we need to be very vocal for the local foods is that when you take the policy and strategy, the food synergy, food database, and dietary guideline, these are the ones that are at the core of telling what people have to eat. But what people have to eat depends on agriculture being nutritionally sensitive. the nutritional integration of agriculture. Of course, the aspects of climate change, I'm not going into those details. It's a different presentation altogether. And then also the post harvest. See what is happening, as I showed you in earlier slide. There are a lot of foods and fruits, vegetables. If you take the Indian context, you per capita availability is very high, but the per capita availability is not converting into the reach to the people and consumption among people. That is to an extent because of the post harvest and post harvest storage facilities, and the prices and many other things. And of course, the most importantly, the behavior change, which is very important to be achieved. Then at an outer layer are the availability, affordability, and accessibility of foods, which are again dictated by many things. In that context, you also get the homestead food production. If it is promoted, like kitchen gardens and things like that, it might be helpful, but it is not very easy to do that, given the spaces in which the houses are built in poor communities. And similarly, the in all these, there is a need to empower women. There is a need to monitor and evaluate all these regularly, and most importantly, to sustain the traditional food systems, that the demand is generated for foods that are produced in an area locally. These are very important to achieve. When this is achieved, diet diversity to an extent can be achieved, which translates into health outcomes, which will be leading to low morbidity, good gut health, cognition, growth, lower anemia and other micronutrient deficiencies, and also uh, you know uh, lower incidence of lot of non-communicable diseases. So there is a direct association between. There is one study in which we are trying to associate what is the cost of ensuring the balance of fruits that people are not getting. If it is ensured, what would be the cost on the part of the government, and how much would it translate to the number of life years saved because of the saved I mean the reduction in non-communicable diseases. So this is a study that we have done. In this study, what we've done is, in a local area of Telangana, we looked at the food environment, taking the 5 A's approach. Sorry, the earlier slide came at a wrong place, but I'll just show it a little later. But the um, in this study, so to improve diet diversity, what you need to do is contextual solutions need to be evolved. What do you do to evolve contextual solutions? You need to be vocal about what is happening locally. To know what is happening locally, you need to assess the local food environment. The assessment methodology can be more or less adapted to any context what we've developed, but at the same time, to actually understand why you need to understand the local food environment, because there are a lot of food environment studies that have been done, but they are largely done in relation to fruit and vegetable consumption or obesity and other things. But there are very few studies in Indian context. In this study, what we tried to do is we tried to assess 5 A's of the food environment. And how did we do it? We took a district in Telangana, and then we've gone to a few villages. And sorry for the font here, but I'm sure you're able to see and understand. So we've selected few villages, and then in these villages, what taken is we've taken children of 6 to 10 years, because 6 to 10 year children are dependent on the mothers for their food, and then the food that is prepared at home is usually ensured. I mean, it is ensured that the children are given all kinds of foods that are brought in the family. Even if the parents sacrifice their own food, the children are likely to get. So that's the reason why we have taken 6 to 10 year old as index person for assessing the entire household diet diversity. This had many contexts. We've selected first, and then we've randomly gone into 6 villages. And then these are the inclusion criteria. I'll not go into details, but we employed both quantitative and qualitative methods into it. What we've done about availability, what we did is we've literally gone and used an approach called ground truthing. Ground truthing is nothing but you have to go and assess exactly what kinds of foods are sold in these particular areas. What are the foods that are made available, sold, produced, or what do people buy, and where all do they buy from? So in this, what we've done is we've done a checklist, and seasonally what are the different kinds of foods. It came to around 197 different kinds of micronutrient rich foods, because this study was largely on micronutrient rich foods. And we've done some interviews with women to find out what exactly are the foods that they get, and then where do they go to get these foods from. Is it the local markets, is it the weekly markets, is it the nearest grocery stores, which also in a lot of villages sell few vegetables and fruits and things like that. And then we looked at the accessibility. How did we do the accessibility? We used we mapped the stores, and for mapping the stores we used a software called ArcGIS, which is with the Geographical Survey of India. One of our colleagues got trained in it, and then we've mapped these stores, and then we created buffer zones of 50 meters, 200 meters, or 500 meters distance from the homes of our subjects to the stores. So if it was in the range of about 200 to 500 meters also, we considered the store or the food store is accessible. If it is beyond that, we thought it is not accessible. So for affordability, what would we do? We administered a standard of living index, and then we also asked the people whether they think the foods are affordable or not. So in this study, what we've done is we've also asked for as I said, there is one more aspect called accommodation. Uh, the willingness of the store owners to sell the foods that are requested by the consumers. At the same time, what is sold there and what is micronutrient rich being consumed by people. And then acceptability. Food is available, food is affordable, food is accessible, but is it acceptable? Do the children consume it or not? That is very important. For this, again, we've done focus group studies. And then we've done anthropometry of the children, and then we've also taken micronutrient biochemical parameters of the children. And why this is required? Because we wanted to validate our questionnaire and the diet diversity scale with the micronutrient status of the children. And then of course we've also done 3-day 24-hour diet recall, 2 days of regular week and one special day, that's a Sunday or a holiday or a festival, where the foods are likely to be little different. And then we also get what the people consume, and then with an in-house software we've calculated the nutrient intake. So these are the different populations of different villages. There are the villages you can see. And when it came to, we've divided the foods into perishable and non-perishable. Perishable, I mean, all foods are perishable, but the ones that had lesser shelf life have been like milk, like the fruit and things like that. We've put some of them as perishable ones. So if you see the non-perishable foods, uh, these are the ones: cereals, millets, and pulses. The availability, if you see in different villages, there was 100% availability. I mean, when the food list is according to the food list that we prepared, as I said, at the ground truthing level, when we prepared this 100%, when we compare that with what villages have, 65% is about 65% is what the availability of various foods is. Similarly, for perishable foods, if you see, it is as low as 7.3% in some villages. So that's the issue. And number of shops selling these perishables is very, very few, and in some places it's almost none. Especially weekly fruit and vegetable markets are not there in some villages. So these are some of the visuals of various villages and the availability of foods from where we've marked, and then we have created this. And these are different ways or places in which the foods are made available. Local foods are made available, and once they are available, can they be diversified or not? So these are different villages. If you see this particular village, there is no weekly market. All the other villages get at least weekly markets. See here, there is no green leafy vegetable availability because the local weekly markets don't sell. Added to these are also issues of storage. when it comes to in our focus group discussions, what we understood from people is that they buy weekly because the markets are weekly markets within the villages. They do not actually consume, they buy the foods, but since there is no refrigeration facility at household level, what people do is they consume the micronutrient rich ones like green leafy vegetables and other fruit and vegetable within the first 2 3 days. And what is usually kept for the end of the week is roots and tubers, which are not so micronutrient dense, especially something like potato and onion and things like that is not so much micronutrient dense as compared to the others. So that's one of the findings. And in some places there are no weekly markets at all. And in some places there are weekly. You may ask me, sir, these are all villages, where do they, are there no green leafy vegetables grown there? Surprisingly, in some of the villages we found that even if the green leafy vegetables are grown there, people are not consuming it because they think they see the green leafy vegetables being grown, maybe on the culverts, maybe using the gutter water, or maybe using pesticides and things like that. So they see, so they think the locally grown green leafy vegetables are not very healthy, so they wait for the weekly markets to bring green leafy vegetable also from elsewhere. I mean, they believe that these are much better than the others, but that these are some of the perceptions. And these are the geo mapping of various food stores that we've done, if you can see. And then these are different layers of buffer zones: 50 meters, 200 meters, and 500 meters. And various things. The red ones indicate the weekly markets, and the green triangles indicate the fresh groceries, and similarly the blue ones indicate the households, where the households are and how far the markets are. So this is how we mapped. And apart from this, the beauty in this study is that we've not just physically have seen the availability, accessibility using the scales, but we also interviewed people and found out the technically on paper people maybe maybe having affordability to buy whatever foods, but if they perceive that they are not affordable, then there is no way that people will go and buy. Similarly, physically by mapping, you can see that the store is just about 200 meters away from you, so the food is accessible, but the person thinks, I don't have the kind of foods that I want to eat in my store. The person would never go to the store to buy it. So the perception also matters. So we've created a methodology wherein the intersecting points of the real availability, accessibility, affordability, accommodation, and acceptability are associated with the perceived reality, availability, accessibility, and 5 A's. So wherever there is intersecting point between the reality, so if by scale they think they are affordable, and if they think they are affordable, then we found we tick that as a attribute of good food environment. So thus we've developed this scale. And after developing the scale, we've also seen the food group intakes, different food groups, how people are consuming. If you see this, we've just divided all the villages into the ones which are pretty close to the highway and the ones which are farther from the highway. The interior villages, if you see, the kinds of foods, the consumption is very very low. When they are near the highway, there is a possibility of access to the foods. It is not that most of the foods are not being produced here, but they are not being consumed. Similarly, if you see, I mean, perhaps the availability, affordability is also a little better in the areas which are pretty close to the highway. At the same time, if you see the micronutrient status near the highway, the micronutrient status, especially related to B complex vitamins, is good. Vitamin D, we've just assessed by the sunlight exposure, that you see it is very good in remote villages, because people come out more often, children come out more often in sun and then play and then spend more time there. But when you see the hemoglobin level, again, the ones that were nearer to the highway, it is very clear that the diversity is more in these particular villages, and hence the micronutrient status is better, except vitamin D, because it's not about diet diversity, it's about sunlight exposure. If you see this, there is direct association between diet diversity and the micronutrient status of the children. This, I will not go into much details of the study in the interest of the time. I think I have to wrap up in another 2 3 minutes or 5 minutes. So what I'll try to tell you is, this is the scale that we've developed. We listed all the micronutrient rich foods, And even, yeah, as I said, cereals also do have some micronutrients. So we listed all these, and we've also given the local names, because people, when you go and employ this scale, so our scale has very clearly shown that the food groups that we've divided versus the diversity that people have directly predicts the micronutrient status, at least in relation to a few micronutrients among the children. So this is very clear that a validated diet diversity score, which takes into consideration the food environment and the components of it, like the 5 A's that I was talking about, is very beneficial to evolve a diet diversity score. Because when this diet diversity score has been evolved, we've given, just if even if 5 grams of any of these food groups is being consumed by the person, we've given a score of 1. If it is less than 5 grams, we gave a score of 0. So this in all has about 13 food groups. If of the 13 anybody was getting more than 10 or at least 10, their micronutrient status was little better off than the others. So we put a cutoff of 10. So if somebody were to take this scale to the village and then take the consumption and get a score of 10, we can safely say that the the child's diet is diverse enough to meet at least some micronutrients. But this study has to be little contextualized to other contexts, because the kind of foods that are available in different contexts should be placed accordingly in these, because these are the foods that are largely available in the villages where we studied. So the number of food groups that are being consumed, if you see, uh, again in different villages, you see, when it comes to cereals, yes, everyone has rice, lots of rice, heaps of rice and vegetable, yes, that is available. But when it comes to diversity of ensuring milk, oil, and vitamin A rich foods and fruits, and then roots and tubers, you can see there is a lot of difference, especially in consumption of you know fruit and vegetable and vitamin A rich foods, green leafy vegetables. The consumption is very bad in these villages. The milk consumption is fairly okay, but the milk consumption that what we got to know from qualitative studies is that among adults it is very less, because whatever milk is procured at home is given to the children. So again, not just that. So diet diversification has to happen, as I said. But what is that is hindering? We have seen the foods that are not being consumed in adequate numbers in this particular slide. So what is that hindering the diet diversity in these local areas? If you see this sorry if you see this particular slide, for consumption of fruits, it is largely because of the availability aspect which is hindering. As I showed you, in many villages the weekly markets don't get lot of fruit and vegetable. For some of them it is little far off. For some villages which are close to the highway, they go and get from the nearest areas, maybe nearest mofussil or nearest district headquarters. But if you see, that is what is hindering, is the availability for fruits. For milk and milk products, children dislike consuming milk. Although the milk and milk products are available in this place, it is not just about, people don't perceive that it is costly, nor it is actually costly. It is not the affordability aspect, it is the acceptability aspect which is hindering this. Similarly, other vegetables, if you see, it is again it is the acceptability that is largely other vegetables are the vegetables which are not roots and tubers, which are not aloo piyaz, which are the vegetables that are generally to be consumed. In that again, children have a lot of dislike. Similarly, green leafy vegetables, lot of dislike. So acceptability is compromised in some of them, while availability is compromised in some of them. And in this case, the flesh foods, pulses and other things, it is mixed bag. At some places people feel it is costly, the affordability is an issue. At some places people generally feel dislike some of them. So acceptability is one aspect that is also largely coming up towards ensuring diet diversity. So how do we address this, all this? So in our current ongoing research, we are doing a diet diversity related communication intervention, wherein we are trying to promote wherever, as I said, the availability of fruit and vegetable is only during the weekly markets. So in those villages, we are trying to talk with the village heads to get them markets to be put up in the village at least twice a week, so that people don't consume foods that are not very rich in micronutrients towards the end of the week, so that their consumption pattern continues through the week. So in other places, what we are trying to do is we are trying to give a communication intervention through books, calendars. We are talking to the village heads, and this is the questionnaire wherein we've shown the balanced diet and then asked people. And then we've also made a series of films which can be shared, because all of them do use smartphones, or for community projection. Because of the COVID issue, we are now not able to do the post intervention study to assess what is the difference in the targeted communication has brought in. So these are just examples of how we dealt with the mothers and the group level activities. But in our intervention, we tried to address three different aspects: the larger food environment or the enabling environment level, which is largely ensured by the local village policy and authority and local village heads. And the second one we are trying to address at the interpersonal level, wherein we make people sit in a group and then discuss and then see these and then assess for themselves as to where they are. And in the third category, it is individual centric, wherein we would give them the takeaways like the calendars and the brochures, which they can have on their walls, and then repeatedly be reminded of the importance of diet diversity. I think for the given time, this is what I can deal with. And thank you very much. I'm sorry if I overshot the time limit.
No, sir, it is absolutely fine. It was such a pleasure listening to you. In fact, all the students, the scholars, and we teachers as well have been hugely benefited. Without taking much of your time, we will actually pass on to the interactive session. So over to Dr. Shongita Manna and Sajida Khatun for the interaction. I request Dr. Soel to also switch on her video if possible. Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Over to Dr. Shongita Manna and Sajida Khatun for the interactions. I'm sure everyone wants to ask a lot of questions, but I think we'll take just two each for each speaker. So, Dr. Manna and Sajida, please take over. Yes, Sajida and Dr. Shongita Manna. Request you both to take over. While I think they are unmuting, the new pandemic has thrown us into a lot of network issues, but I'm sure they will connect very soon. So just to give a brief overview of what we had thought of as the theme for this webinar, I would rather say. There is so much going on in nutrition, current research, as Dr. Swell was saying and Sir was saying. The future is all about getting the correct food. The future is all about having nutrition as the foundation for a healthy life. So I think I just wanted to ask Dr. Rao about what he sees as the future of the nation in terms of nutritional aspects.
If I wish I was able to answer that question easily. I think diet diversity definitely. I mean, I will stick to the topic that I've addressed today. Diet diversity is definitely one approach, but it's a combination of various short-term and long-term approaches that we need to look at for addressing the problems that we are facing today. As I said, we are at a very rapid transitional state, both economically, industrially, as well as in terms of health infrastructure. Of course, in terms of nutrition. There are no easy answers for your question as to what would be the scenario of India, but we as nutritionists have a lot of responsibility on our shoulder to ensure that the pace, because the undernutrition problems took a very long time for us to handle. But if we just leave the current nutrition transition to go on, we'll be endangering our own future and also the productivity of our future populations. We should be very, very keenly working towards it, because we are, in terms of our productive population and younger population, the best in the world in terms of the number of or the percentage of population who are very productive and young. So it is our responsibility to take care of this, and the nutrition scenario will definitely be good. And then there is a lot of awareness that is being but there is a lot of misinformation as well. These two are things that we need to handle. And we can try, as nutritionists, we can try and do smaller things from our own side. Like, if you come across any information that is not authentic, that is not really good, or trying to spread misinformation, please don't forward it, because you're a broadcaster yourself. With your mobile phone in your hand, you are reaching out to thousands of people. Similarly, on social media platforms, we are reaching out to thousands of people. Whenever you come across some information that is not uh, true, or maybe not based on scientific facts, it becomes our responsibility to at least tell or push back in the areas, or to the person who's immediately forwarded to us, to tell them what is right. So I think we need to do it little carefully, and the future will be bright if we all work together and the awareness is enhanced among people.
Thank you so much, sir. That answers my question very, very well. The next question I would rather ask to Dr. Swell. It is from Meheli Banerjee. She asks, the chicken eating GMO food would need horizontal gene transfer to claim the chicken as GMO. So, how much horizontal gene transfer percentage would you say actually exists? Uh, I hope you got the question, or should I repeat again?
No, I got it. I got it.
Okay.
Thank you. It was
Yeah.
a very interesting and good question. So that could be another 20-minute of presentation because it's not easy to detect, because there is like various sort of publication, and due to a lot of pressure from biotech companies because of their, how much they earn from these biotech crops, it's not always easy to it's just not easy to do research which doesn't benefit them. I don't want to get into too much conflict, but yes, there are a lot of research still required to do horizontal gene transfer, and how much percentage we are transporting from one generation to other generation. Even there are like I hardly found recent research. Whenever I do a presentation, I don't go any farther than 5 years of down the line. So my research is from 2010 to 2018, 19. Among these years, there is not much article that I've found is based that how much gene is transporting from one to one. But there's a lot of research has been done on the feed and their toxicity. So what they are basically doing on the rodents, and they tried those on rodents, but they try to analyze the toxicity level due to the GM, like GM feed, like basically what is given to the chicken or cow. So it is a very interesting question, but I am sorry, but it is hard for me to give you that answer like a one-line answer. It's a process, and there are a lot of research still required to answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Swell. Thank you so much. I think that answers the question very well. Sajida, I hope, yes, Sajida. I think you can take over.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Devlina, for answering the question. Now, I would like to put forward some questions asked by the participants of this webinar to Subbarao sir. Sir, this question has been asked by Professor Shiv-Prasad Mondal. He asks, why non-communicable disease are elevated gradually?
Oh, non-communicable diseases, as you know, it's a complex situation. I think it is not just about diet, or only diet. It is also about environmental factors. It is also about the foods that we are consuming, and the change in the foods that we are consuming, and the calorie density of foods, as well as the fat and sugar and salt and other things, and the extent of physical activity that we are engaged in. added to all this, there are environmental factors which also come into play. And of course, I need not mention about the genetic factors which are predisposing people. But there are a lot of studies also that show that in the life cycle, if the mother's nutrition, or that's the reason why there is too much focus nowadays on 1,000 days, first 1,000 days of life. What NIN talks is not just the first 1,000 days of life. Even before the woman prepares for pregnancy, she should be nutritionally well positioned. So it starts, I don't know, I mean, it could start anywhere right from the fetal stage, or it could happen sometime in the adulthood. But there is also evidence which is showing that children born low birth weight, or born to mothers who are undernourished, or children born with micronutrient deficiencies, or children who have micronutrient deficiencies in their formative years, especially in the first 2 years of life, they may have catch up growth later, they may be nutritionally adequate later, but they are generally predisposed to non-communicable diseases in adulthood. So one reason that I see, I mean, this is just from my readings, that in the recent past we've had a transition, if you see. So at one point of time, large number of population were facing the problems of undernutrition at one point of time. These are the same people who have gone up the economic ladder. These are the same people whose lifestyles have drastically changed. These are the same people whose food habits also have drastically changed. And that's the reason why you see the surge of overweight, obesity, and non-communicable diseases, even among poor communities and rural areas. So that I mean, this is a complex environment, food environment. I cannot just answer in one line as to why NCDs are growing. And of course, added to it is a stress. Added to it is also stress from various other things.
Dr. Rao, I sorry, Sajida, I'm just gonna interfere here, Dr. Rao. I really impressed with your presentation, and I wanted to add one more thing to you. What you just said is so valid. There is like one research a person did, is like it's not like, you know, how we generate, how we grow infant when born with a spinal bifida, and that's because of the folic acid deficiency. And they kind of research on that, and they found out it's not during the pregnancy, or it's not the first, like it happens in first 5 days of the pregnancy. So like even if you are deficient prior to pregnant, that could, like, you know, escalate the complication and the fetus. It's like, so just you said, it just triggered me that like,
Yeah.
like,
Thank you for the interjection. And that's the reason why our institute has been talking about nutrition before and after 1,000 days, and most importantly before 1,000 days. 1,000 days talks only about conception to 2 years. But we I mean, our director is very, very keen and clear that we should actually drive home the aspect that the woman or the adolescent girl herself should be nutritionally ready to be a pregnant. So of
yeah,
course,
right.
adolescence is not the age for pregnancy. Even the age, not just 18, it should be better if it is at least 20 years. So there are many
Yeah.
other factors, including a lot of people miss out on food safety, hygiene, hygiene, and other things. They do have a role on in non-communicable diseases.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Just the last question of the evening to Dr. Soel. What is the nexus between GMO and GMD? Just to finish off the interactive session.
GMD.
Yes, it's a question that has come in the chat box. GMO and GMD, as in, I'm not too sure what the person wanted to ask. If anyways, so I think it's a question that came in the chat box. So if you just want to, just a one liner, if you want to just finish off today's evening's discussion with some note for the audience, Dr. Swell, a
Well,
note from
yeah,
your
well,
side.
yeah. No. I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to go Google it really quickly. What is GMD? I'm not very sure. Good question. I don't know the GMD. But if it is like a connection between GMO and our lifestyle, we cannot eliminate GMO from our life. That I don't see any way. But what we can definitely enforce to our life is read the labels and put pressure on the legislation that they should have a label. They should have a label. We have all right to know what we are eating. Even personally, me, I'm not an organic eater. Personally, I'm not a tree hugger. I love food. So, but I want to get conscious that what I am eating and what I'm feeding my kids too. So I think eating GMO, we are raised in it. And I don't like, 35 years I have been eating that. So I don't have any reaction to it, but a lot of people are developing some sort of allergy reactions and like some sort of health disorder. And now the hype is gluten-free diet and stuff like that. I don't know if that has anything to do with GMO and non-GMO, but people who are hyped with gluten-free, they're probably also eating GMO because it's very hard to eliminate gluten from your natural food sources. So it's a very interesting, debatable, and controversial topic. What I choose, and I know there's a lot of people are texting me and saying, "Oh, we were expecting more from you," but I don't have enough time to explore more say more on molecular sides because it's a general platform and I don't want it to emphasize something that is not palatable for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A big thank you to both the speakers. I wish we had the whole day to discuss, but unfortunately we do not. So thank you once again, and over to Tonima for the next session. Tonima? Dr. Tonima Pant.
Thank you, Dr. Subbarao and Dr. Swell for such an informative interaction. Thank you so much. Now we are heading towards lecture competition, and a brief introduction of lecture competition will be given by Paromita. So Miss Paromita Banerjee is an ex-student of Maharani Kasiswari College, Department of Food and Nutrition. She was first class second in the University of Calcutta. She is a very active member of Alumni Association. She is very good in her studies and presently working as ICMR research at National Institute of Nutrition. I request Paromita to deliver a brief introduction to the lecture competition. Paromita, over to you.
Yes, thank you, madam. And I'm very glad to be a part of this webinar arranged by my college, through which I paved my way into the field of nutrition. And as the topic of the webinar, that the research scenario. So as a student perspective, when I look back, I think as an since most of the audience are undergraduate and postgraduate students, I wanted to just share my experiences, what questions I had during my college days, and like how to be a part of that research scenario. So what I feel that the most important as a student, the important aspects or the important questions are about how to get into the research, how to get that opportunities, and what the field or area of nutrition research, what can be the methodology and the research ethics. So I want to just touch upon a brief of it, that for most of the students, my juniors, it is that if you want a career in research, then it is the simple and the straight way is obviously to go through the NET examination, National Eligibility Test in India. And it is not it is not just conducted by UGC. There are several other examination bodies such as the ICMR, ICAR, CSIR, which sometimes nutrition students, we think that we cannot appear for that exams, but you have the knowledge and you have the eligibility of being a part of these examinations as well. So go into it. And apart from that, if you want a research exposure, there is like a lot of funding agencies who fund projects, and there you can be taken up as research fellows, but not leading to PhD, but you can get a wide exposure in research in that field. And other than that, there are many universities in India, just to, or institutes, and to top it all, since I belong from there. And then there is Calcutta University, there is CFTRI, St. John's Research Institute, BS Benares Hindu University, MSU Baroda. So there are a lot of universities who give the opportunity to the students through their entrance examinations, which you can also apply for. Then coming to the area of nutrition research, apart from the traditional and the basic research, it is the area of nutrition is wide, and it is an overlapping, it is a multidisciplinary subject from genomics level, biochemistry, food safety, drug safety. There is a wide opportunity. You can choose according to your interest. And what I personally learned after going to NIN, that the most important part is the application-based research, which you learn from the lab, translating that knowledge to the community and policy making. And I consider myself really lucky to be a student under Dr. Jm Subbarao, who is an expert in nutrition communication. That is a very major, important area of nutrition research, which you can also explore. And then the research methodology, when you go into the research, before that, I would always obviously understand your interest, your research area, and then do an extensive literature research before going into something. Identify the gaps, because there is no point of adding up the extensive resources which are already there. Identify the gaps, identify your research methodology, plan it, and then test and pre-test your research tools before just committing anywhere. Then just and the one of the most important thing is that the ethics of research, in which you have to maintain your truthfulness, your transparency, and the confidentiality through the there is most of the time there are the ethics committees in the institutes and the universities. So you need to register and you need to have the ethical committee approval. So this is from my side as a student of I have learned so far. So I wanted to just give you those briefs. And now coming to the research, the lecture competition, we got a tremendous response, and a lot of entries were there. Who are, I think, already they have mastered their research proposals very well. It is we had a tough time in judging that, since the time is not enough. So we have just sorted a few of them, those which are the best, and the undergraduate and postgraduate students. I'll just call upon the names of the undergraduate students who have been selected on the top 3 category. That is Prishila Dotto. She is pursuing her food and nutrition honors 5th semester from Maharani Kasiswari College. Then there is Sneha Chakravarti. She is also a BSc food and nutrition student from Biharilal College, and Devika Pal, who is she is also food and nutrition student from Biharilal College. And in the post-graduation category, there is the top 3 are Shomam Dotto, who is a post-graduation student from University of Calcutta. The second one is Choyonika Das, who is pursuing her post-graduation from Biharilal College. And the third one is Neheli Banerjee. She is from the St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. I request Shejuti and O3 ma'am to take after me and introduce them for their next presentations. Thank you. Shejuti and
I request Auditory to please take over.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, you're audible, Auditory. Carry on.
Okay. Good evening to all of you. This is the lecture competition session. Now, the selected participants of the lecture competition will deliver their lecture today in this webinar. Due to this COVID pandemic situation, we have organized the lecture competition offline. And there was a huge response in this competition. More than 35 abstracts were submitted. Among them, 3 from the undergraduate and 3 from the postgraduate section have been selected to present their presentation here. So we are really ready to start the lecture. First selected participant in UG category is Prishila Dotto from Maharani Kasiswari College, 5th semester, Food and Nutrition Honors. Her topic is how malnutrition affect our mental health. So over to you, Prishila.
Good evening. Good evening to all my respected teachers, seniors, and friends. I am Prishila Dotto from Maharani Kasiswari College, Food and Nutrition Department, 5th semester. We all are here to celebrate National Nutrition Month to promote the importance of nutrition in our life. Just like previous years, this year also we have theme that is kitchen garden and severe acute malnutrition. But today, I will emphasize on malnutrition, especially how malnutrition affects our mental health. In a developing country like India, where the socio-economic condition is not up to the mark, malnutrition is a major problem among a large section of people. While talking and thinking about malnutrition, we generally focus on our physical problems like undernutrition, overnutrition, and deficiency diseases. But we don't pay attention generally to our mental health, but which is also very important. Our brain is always on. It works hard 24/7 even while we are sleeping. It takes care of our movement, feeling, thoughts, heartbeat, breathing, etc., all at a time. This suggests that it requires a lot of fuel and nourishment. This fuel and nourishment comes from the food that we eat. What we eat makes all the difference. In this pandemic situation, we all are worried about our mental health. So today, I will try to give light on the topic that is how malnutrition affects our mental health. In this slide, I have given some overviews from published journals to strengthen the fact that the food that we eat directly affects our mental health. I would like to highlight here the second point because in the next slide, I will describe about energy and concentration. Please can you show the previous slide? Yes. Through our research, it has been found that a lack of breakfast prior to going to school has shown a poor school performance. Lack of breakfast detrimentally affect attitude and concentration. Next slide, please. Our brain is made up of essential nutrients and it relies both on macronutrients, that is carbohydrate, fat, protein, and micronutrients, vitamins and minerals for its structure and function. In this slide, I will briefly describe how these macronutrients affects our mental health. First comes the important one, that is carbohydrate. To focus and concentrate, our brain requires a constant supply of energy. That is, around 20% of the energy needed by the body is used by the brain. This energy comes from our blood glucose. Carbohydrate is the main source of this energy, especially for our brain. Therefore, we can say that it is very essential for us to take appropriate amount of energy from appropriate food. Lack of carbohydrate or energy can lead to mental fatigue, irritability, and lack of concentration that I have mentioned in the previous slide. Next comes the protein. Our brain development is accomplished by protein synthesis. Thus, we can say that protein deficiency can hamper this process, that is brain development. Our brain needs all the essential amino acids to regulate our thought and feeling and function well. And now, while talking about or telling about fats, I must say that some people have an impression that all the fats are bad for our health. But this isn't the case because our brain is itself fat around 60%. Some essential fatty acids like omega-3 fatty acid, omega-6 fatty acids are very much needed for our brain development and functioning throughout our whole life. Fats also help in communication between brain cells. EPA and DHA especially play an important role in babies' brain development in the early stages of life. In this slide, I have briefly given how these macronutrients help our brain development. Next slide, please. Now here comes the micronutrients. Iron and iodine both are very much essential for our cognitive development from our fetal life, and especially in the first 2 to 3 years of our life. Therefore, it is very much essential to prevent iron deficiency, especially in the first years of our life. Through a study, it has been found that those with low hemoglobin level has scored poor in verbal and intelligence test. And it has also been found that those whose mother have iodine deficiency during pregnancy are at risk of brain damage, which is irreversible. Moreover, iron deficiency can also lead to imbalance of thyroid hormones, which in turn can affect brain development and functioning. Folic acid, which is also very important, its deficiency can lead to depression, and its deficiency during pregnancy can also hamper or cause a defect in the spinal cord of the fetus. The suboptimal nutrient level in the child can cause attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. In this slide also, I have jotted down the function of the micronutrients in the brain development and functioning. Next slide. Improper nutrition can also lead to obesity. The relationship between obesity and mental health is a bit complex, but through a study, it has been found that obese people have 55% of developing obesity over time. Depressed people have 58% increased risk of becoming obese. In case of older people, low levels of DH in blood have been associated with smaller brain size, which is a sign of brain aging. High homocysteine level can be a consequence of poor methylation, which has been identified in people with Though we know that genetic inheritance play a major role in brain development and functioning throughout our life, but nutrition also plays an important role. Thus, we can conclude from here that along with our physical well-being, we should also take care of our mental well-being. This is all for today's topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prishila. It was amazing, really. Just to mention to all the participants, to all the competitors, kindly stick to the time limit of 5 minutes and just 5 slides. And another thing, just mention next. Over to you, Aritri. Yes, Aritri, the next participant, please. The next participant. I request Amit to please start with the next slide so that we can, yes, thank you so much. Sneha Chakravarti, the next participant, Sneha Chakravarti. I think Sneha has unmuted herself. Sneha Chakravarti, BSc Honours 5th semester from the Department of Food and Nutrition, Biharilal College. Do we have Sneha? If Sneha cannot connect, can we just, is Sneha, are you able to unmute? If not, then can we pass on to the third contestant, please? Congratulations to all of you.
I have unmuted.
Yes, Sneha. Okay, continue,
I was not
Sneha.
able to unmute at that moment.
Okay, Sneha. Continue, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sneha Chakraborty, and I am a student of Biharilal College, Department of Food and Nutrition. This year, National Nutrition Month has put special emphasis on the role of nutrition during the first 1,000 days of life and prenatal maternal nutrition. In accordance with that concept, I'm going to talk about the importance of omega-3 fatty acids in fetal brain and neural development during prenatal period through my presentation. Next slide, please. Now, what is prenatal period? Prenatal period is the most important developmental stage of an individual in both physical and neural aspects. It is the stage of development of the embryo and fetus, which begins at conception and ends at birth. The prenatal period comprises of three stages: the zygotic stage, the embryonic stage, and the fetal stage. The prenatal period roughly accounts for 238 to 294 days and contributes to the first 1,000 days of life. Next slide. Next slide, please. So moving on to the next slide. Now let us know what is omega-3 fatty acid and how it is related to the development of fetus during the prenatal period. Omega-3 fatty acids are essential polyunsaturated fatty acids which form an integral part of the brain membrane phospholipids. Omega-3 fatty acids occur in two most common biologically active forms: eicosapentaenoic acid (EPA) and docosahexaenoic acid (DHA). DHA separately is known as the building block of baby's retina and brain because it aids in normal visual functioning and neural functioning of the brain. DHA also helps decreasing the risk of Alzheimer's disease and reduces inflammation. DHA along with EPA helps in neural metabolism, neuronal proliferation, and formation of myelin sheath. So the next slide. As I said before, omega-3 fatty acids are essential fatty acids, which means these fatty acids are not synthesized in the human body. In that case, the pregnant woman should include certain food items like fish and seafoods, flaxseed, spinach, cauliflower, walnuts, soybean oil, canola oil, and hemp seeds in her diet. WHO recommends, or World Health Organization recommends, a dietary intake of 650 milligram of omega-3 fatty acid, out of which 200 milligram should constitute of DHA or docosahexaenoic acid. During the last trimester of pregnancy, 50 to 70 milligram of DHA is accrued by the fetus. So the mother needs to maintain proper levels of circulating omega-3 fatty acids in her body so that she can transmit that fatty acid from her body to the fetus through placenta. And fatty acid continues accumulating in the baby's body till 2 years of age. Next slide. Now the question is, will it really matter if there is deficient supply of omega-3 fatty acids in the pregnant woman's body? The answer is yes. Deficiency in the mother's body is going to affect the normal development of the central nervous system in the growing baby in her womb. The baby in the postnatal stage may suffer from bipolar disorder, dyslexia, dementia, schizophrenia, and other neurological disorders. He or she may suffer from loss of memory and improper cognitive development. There may be irreversible behavioral changes and irreversible visual impairment in the child after birth. Next slide. Oh, this is the last slide, sorry. So I will like to conclude my presentation with the fact that, like all other nutrients, omega-3 fatty acids should also be included in the mother's diet in adequate amount so that she can give birth to a healthy baby. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sneha, for your presentation. The next participant in this UG category is Devika Pal from Viharilal College, Food and Nutrition Honors. Her topic is Feeding Smart from the Start. Over to you, Devika.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Devika? Okay.
Yes, Devika, you're audible. Start.
Thank you, ma'am. Myself, Devika Pal. Today, the topic of my lecture is Feeding Smart from the Start. I hope that this presentation will help us to know how to fight against malnutrition and build a healthy India. So I'm directly entering to my topic. Next slide, please. Well, the critical time for good nutrition lies within 1,000 days from pregnancy to second birth of that child. And we should also know and aware about the preconceptual nutrition, that is, nutrition of a woman in her childbearing age. which must include certain nutrients like vitamin A, D, B complex, vitamin E, calcium, and iron. Thus decreases the unfavorable pregnancy outcomes like abortion, low birth weight baby, preterm baby, and so on. Next comes the inter-uterine nutrition, that is, the healthy, balanced, nutritious diet for her developing fetus. It includes omega-3 fatty acids for the brain development of the fetus, iron to prevent anemia and to make a sufficient store in the fetus as mother's milk doesn't contain sufficient amount of iron. Then calcium for skeletal development of that fetus, folic acid, vitamin B12, etc. Excessive consumption of teratogens like alcohol, caffeine, smoking is harmful for both for the mother and the child. Fetus receives all its requirements from mother's body through placenta for long 9 months. Thus, optimal maternal nutrition is important for birth of a healthy, nourished child. Next slide, please. Now, I'm switching to the next topic, that is lactation. Breast milk, a smart first food. WHO and UNICEF recommended early initiation of breastfeeding within 1 hour is one of the most important actions for infant survival. Exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life is necessary. There are roughly 3 stages through which breast milk secreted. These are colostrum, transition milk, and mature milk. Among them, colostrum is the most nutritious source and nutrients. It contains nutrients like DHA, arachidonic acid, vitamins, protein, immunoglobulin, IgA, and anti-infective substance like interferon, and thus provides immunity to fight infections and improve gut health throughout life. Improper breastfeeding causes harmful effects like frequent infection, poor growth, and so on. Next slide, please. So it's a chart given, that is the weaning foods. At the age of 6 months, an infant's need for energy and nutrition starts to exist due to their rapid growth and development, increase in BMR, body weight, and activity. Thus, breast milk is not enough to fulfill their requirements. So the complementary food are introduced to continue grow strong and develop fully. So the target age of the weaning food is 6 months to 2 years. There are 3 types of weaning foods, like appropriate weaning, which include fresh, homemade, locally available, hygienically prepared, energy dense, cost effective food, like combination of cereals and pulses, khichdi. Then comes the acceptable one. These are home available and easily digestible foods, like fruits and boiled vegetables. Then the third is avoidable. These are poor quality foods and that should be avoided during weaning. These are the teen food and the junk food. From 9 months of age, finger foods is offered to the baby. These are thick, finger-sized pieces and are digestible. This type of feeding pattern allows an infant to feed themselves right from the start. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, the points are given in the slide which should be considered during introduction of weaning foods. The advantages of weaning in proper time are less risk of anemia, improved cognitive development, helps in optimal growth, and so on. But improper weaning results illness like ear infection, diarrhea, chances of anemia, obesity, risk of sudden death. There are some important points that should be followed regarding baby-led weaning that are provided in the chart in the do and don'ts form. Healthy eating is more crucial for infants and school-going children, so their diet must include nutrients like vitamin C, vitamin D, iron, and calcium. Next slide, please. Immunization through vaccination like influenza, rotavirus, hepatitis B vaccine are equally important to get healthy life. Thus, we can conclude that health and hygiene, preconceptual nutrition, inter-uterine nutrition, lactation, complementary feeding, healthy eating from the beginning helps to prevent nutritional problems and helps to combat malnutrition, as well as provides a huge support to go, grow, and glow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Devika. The three participants from UG category have already delivered their lecture. Now we will move on to the postgraduate category. The first selected participant in postgraduate category is Shomam Dotto. He is pursuing his post-graduation in the Department of Home Science, University of Calcutta. And his lecture topic is Molecular Insights into the Neuroprotective Properties of Turmeric. Uh, Shomam, over
Hello,
to
ma'am.
you.
Am I audible? Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, Shomam, you're audible. You're ready to go.
Yes, actually, I'm getting some trouble to share my video, so I will continue.
Yes, Optimus.
So a very good evening to everyone. My name is Soumam Datta, and I'm currently pursuing Masters in Food and Nutrition from the University of Calcutta. And today I will discuss the molecular mechanisms underlying the neuroprotective properties of curcumin. The next slide. The neurodegenerative diseases are a group of diseases which are characterized by progressive atrophy and loss of function of the functioning neurons, both in the central as well as in the peripheral nervous system. So the pathology is multifactorial and involves a range of dietary, lifestyle, biological, genetic, environmental factors. And the key features of neurodegeneration are oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, TSOMal abnormality, and aromal protein aggregation or protein plaque formation. So the milestones, the major milestones of neurodegenerators are protein aggregation, inflammation, immunization, and finally degenerative damage to the neuron. Key are stress and inflammation. Next. So now I will be discussing on turmeric. As we all know that turmeric is an ancient Indian herb, and the active component is widely known. It's curcumin, and the structure, the 2D and 3D structure is also shown. The major way in which curcumin acts are the antioxidant activity and acetylcholinesterase activity. So acetylcholinesterase breaks down acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter, and thereby this activity of acetylcholinesterase synaptic anti-acetylcholinesterase type of drugs are frequently used in the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases, and curcumin shows similar properties. It also improves mitochondrial dysfunction, it increases proteosomal activity, and thereby helps in the removal of beta amyloid plaques. It shows anti-inflammatory effects, how I will be discussing in the next slide. Additionally, it shows antidepressant effect, and it upregulates BDNF, which is another important factor. BDNF helps in the growth and maintenance of the nervous tissue. It increases cell viability. It increases the DHA synthesis in brain and liver. And additionally, it also increases the activity of antioxidant enzymes like catalase, superoxide dismutase, glutathione peroxidase, reduced glutathione, and glutathione transferase. Next slide, ma'am. So the major mechanism by inflammation. So now I will be discussing on turmeric. The active component is widely known. It's curcumin, and the structure pathway. In the slide, you can see that at the basal site, the inner face, the cytoplasm is turmeric. As we all know that curcumin and the structure, the 2D and acts in our body. So while curcumin is it helps to translocate more and more amount of NRF2 into the nucleus, where it binds to ARE, or the antioxidant response element, consequently leads to the transcription of heme oxygenase 1 enzyme. So this is important enzyme which breaks down heme, carbon monoxide, ferrous, and iodine. This carbon monoxide further inhibits NFKB, or the nuclear factor kappa B pathway, which is the key pathway involved in cellular inflammation. So inhibition of this pathway inhibits the formation of cytokines like interleukin 6, TNF alpha, and heme oxygenase also directly inhibits pro-inflammatory cytokines and increases the levels of anti-inflammatory cytokines. All these things together helps to reduce, increases cell the level of inflammation in the neuron cells. So this is the key mechanism, increases cell viability. Please. Now the delivery system. The traditional delivery system of curcumin or turmeric is mainly mechanism by which turmeric it can also be taken with jaggery or milk or honey. And make the next slide visible. I'm not getting the next slide. Okay, so I will be continuing. And possible applications of it is also beneficial in schizophrenia, cognitive deficits, depression, and in case of PMS or premenstrual syndrome, it is also found to be beneficial. So I hope there will be further studies in this particular field. And with this, I will end my talk. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes.
Next participant is Choinika Das from Viarilal College, University of Calcutta, and she will talk about fragrant and medicinal leaves of Pandanus plant as natural food additives. Choinika, you can start.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible? Ma'am, I am audible?
Yes, you can
Yes,
start.
yes, Chanika.
Okay. I will discuss now about fragrant and medicinal leaves of Pandanus amarapillus Roxby as natural food additive. Next slide, please. The leaves of only this species of plant can possess pleasant aroma among all 600 species of Pandanus family. This plant does not bear any fruit. That's why it is sterile plant. Pandan plants mainly found in Southeast Asian countries like Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and also in India. Where the pandan plants are found in India, already pointed in map. It is also cultivated in home gardens in coastal regions of India, especially in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. In India, the pandan leaves has special name that is known as Annapurna leaves. Next slide, ma'am. Now come to the main point, that is natural food additives. These are the substances mainly found naturally in a foodstuff and that are extracted from another food to introduce to another food. So that pandan is considered as natural food additives for mainly two reasons. One is for natural flavor that impart refreshing sweet basmati rice odor, and other properties is natural color. For its flavoring agent, it is used in non-aromatic rice to imitate the expensive aromatic rice flavor, and also used in jellies, drinks, chicken wrap for enhance the flavor. And also second reason, that is natural color for its high chlorophyll content For this, it import pure green color. Already photo will be seen in slide. This is the pandan cake, which is made from the extract of pandan leaves. That is give the green color in this cake. Okay, next slide, please. Now, the most important features of pandan leaves are medicinal properties. Now, discuss all the properties of pandan leaves one by one. First is antimicrobial properties. Antimicrobial properties for the pandanine components, that is unglycosylated protein. It has potential antiviral activities. Also, it helps in the preservation of stored milk also. Second is antioxidant properties. This is for the gallic acid, catechin, lutein, and also for beta carotene, vitamin E, C, etc. Third is most important, anti-diabetic properties. That is for the compound quercetin that could inhibit alpha glycosidase enzyme activity. So, pandan leaves is considered as natural source of anti-hyperglycemic agent. Next is anti-obesity properties. It is help in decrease the triglyceride levels and also decrease insulin dysfunction in obesity states. Next is anti-cancer activities for these bioactive compounds like catechin, gallic acid, camphorol, that is inhibiting the proliferation of breast cancer cells. And next properties are other properties. Some other properties like it is used as sedative against restlessness. It also reduces insomnia. It cured urinary infection by drink made from finely chopped fresh stem of pandan leaves in water, and it also used as a herbal tea for the cardiotonic effect, and also used for hair loss, darkening of hair color, hair dandruff, and anorexia also. Please next slide. Pandan leaves have been used since ancient time. It has many traditional uses like folk medicine in Indonesia to treat typhus illness. It also used with coconut oil to apply on rheumatic troubles, and it is used also for postnatal care, especially in Malaysia. It reduces also stomach cramps, spasms, reduce skin problems and sunburns also by adding extraction of leaves in bath water. Commercially, it is also used for its sweet aroma. It is used in mouthwash, soap, skincare products. So, if pandan leaves used as natural food additives, then the harmful effect of synthetic additives can be reduced, and these leaves are also as potent medicinal herbs. It also further used as pharmaceutical or nutraceutical application in the production of functional food, and also for its essential oils. Thank you, all respective teacher of Maharani Kasiswari College, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Chanika. Third participant in this category is Meheli Banerjee from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. She is pursuing her post-graduation in biotechnology, and her topic is cholesterol bad for health might be a myth, a review on role of nutrition in Alzheimer's disease.
Good evening, everybody. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Thank you.
You're
So,
audible.
Good evening, everybody. My topic for today is Alzheimer's disease and the role nutrition plays in it. So, we have seen that Alzheimer's is very prevalent in 60 plus age. People reach to the late stages of Alzheimer's in that amount in time. So, very peculiar structures are seen in the brains of Alzheimer's patients, like the tangles and the plaques. These are caused by different proteins, like for the tangles are caused by tau protein being accumulated in a wrong way, and also plaques are caused by amyloid beta being sticking together and causing the plaques. Next slide, please. So, understanding the function of lipoproteins and their contribution in Alzheimer's disease, for a very long time, it was thought that due to the blood-brain barrier, no proteins, like no cholesterol or something, reached to the other side, like to the brain side. So, but after researching, it was found out that astrocytes produce two kinds of lipid transferring molecules that are called apolipoproteins A1 and E4, which help us transfer cholesterol and fats to the other side, to the brain side. This actually, like, our body constantly goes down through wear and tear of membranes. So repair membranes have obviously a lot of fatty acids and cholesterol to hold them together. So it is important that these molecules reach. There are two types of defects that can occur. One is having a ApoE4 genetic variant from the beginning only. This reduces the potential of an apolipoprotein. This variant has a reduced potential to transfer fatty acid and cholesterol beyond the blood brain barrier. So the more the cells get destroyed, the repair is not compatible. So there is high level of oxidative damage. Also, if apolipoproteins are not lipidated, as in there's no proper fat, you're not consuming enough fat, then it also reduces the efficiency of them transferring this across the thing. Next slide, please. So in my next slide, I have done a flow chart of how this entire will affect to finally the apoptosis of a neuron, which is going to affect Alzheimer's eventually, because neuronal death is seen in Alzheimer's. So ApoE4 is defective, or there's a genetic variant of it, or you don't consume enough fat, which does not lipidate your lipoprotein. So there's a lack of cholesterol and fats to the neuron, and the cell membranes that are constantly being destroyed cannot be repaired. So this exposes your cell to high levels of oxidizing agents, and also this will lead to, because oxidizing agents first will attack mitochondria, which will start destroying your mitochondria. Now, what mitochondria does is the basic sentence is mitochondria is a powerhouse of our cell. So if the mitochondria is in a bind and cannot function properly, but still the body has not yet realized it. So glucose puts pressure on it to convert energy. It's still pressurizing the mitochondria to convert. Now, the little mitochondria that's left is under extreme pressure, which will lead to even more dysfunction of mitochondria. The entire cascade will begin of, there will be defects in transmission, there will be increased synthesis of amyloid beta, and then neuron will be slowly unable to function, and it will start trying to go under a programmed cell death so that it does not affect its neighboring neurons. And finally, all of them, like most of the neurons, will start dying off. Next slide, please. So the other most important thing in a system of neurons is the way they transmit signals. So the transmission of signals is done, one very important transmitter is glutamate. So now what I was talking about, these transmitters, they are carried in vesicles. They reach the presynaptic layer, they release the neurotransmitter in the synapse, and they are taken up by the postsynaptic membrane. All these vesicles, this postsynaptic and presynaptic, all of them have high levels of cholesterol in them. If we are not taking enough cholesterol in our diet, what happens is these membranes, they become inefficient to form these vesicles to retain the glutamate in the presynaptic, or to uptake the glutamate and remove them from the synapse, which leads to a very heavy accumulation of glutamate in the synapse area. And there's a constant signaling that will be going on because you cannot reabsorb back the reuptake the glutamate back. So there's a constant signaling which will keep affecting and slowly desensitize the neurons to that signal, one. And two is that glutamate also has very high oxidizing they are very high oxidizing agents, so that will again lead to the dysfunction of mitochondria and everything. So next slide please. So the cells eventually come up with a few things themselves to salvage themselves from this kind of pressure. Number one, they try to remove the source from glucose, because glucose will be further broken down by mitochondria to produce energy. What they try to do is move the pathway away from glucose so that this mitochondria is not that pressurized to produce energy. So so it was seen that this amyloid beta plaques that is formed is actually necessary for the cells to try to salvage them out of this entire vicious cycle of it. So here we will see that amyloid beta has is reduces the dependence of a cell on mitochondrial activities, and it reduces the ability of the cell to import glucose inside, which has a side effect that it will most probably lead to diabetes mellitus 3 later on. But it has to salvage itself from one problem at a time, I feel. And also it catalyzes the production of lactate dehydrogenase, which will help to convert the pyruvate to lactate so that anaerobic fermentation can produce the energy, though it is lesser energy than glucose fermentation, aerobic fermentation, but still it is some energy. Also, a ketogenic diet can be followed where the ketone bodies can be used instead of glucose molecules as a diet, so that you can divert away from the glucose usage. So in conclusion, I would like to say that a high carbohydrate diet for a predisposed AD patient is it's going to be harmful, because glucose will need breaking down in mitochondria, whereas a low cholesterol diet or low fat diet will be equally harmful. But also we cannot have a very high cholesterol diet, because that will then lead to again heart diseases and stuff. So it is important to have a balance in the cholesterol diet, but also it is important that we take very little low of on the carbohydrate side. Thank you so much for letting me present, and it was a very great
Thank
opportunity.
you so much. Thank you. Congratulations to all of you. Presentations, 6 wonderful students who are the future of the subject nutrition. In fact, I would like to say this is the whole point where celebration of national nutrition is all about. So without any more further delay, I would like to pass on to the last part of our program, almost the last part, where we release formally our Nutri-Knowledge, nutrition magazine, which is very, very close to our hearts because it is edited and formed in the Department of Food and Nutrition, Maharani Kasiswari College. It has articles, wonderful articles by new researchers, research scholars, teachers, faculty members. So we will send the magazine, obviously, on your WhatsApp or your emails. You will receive a copy just after it is formally released. So I request our principal, ma'am, to please formally release Nutri-Knowledge. Ma'am, if we can have you on our video, please. Respected principal, ma'am would formally inaugurate Nutri-Knowledge. And this whole idea was our principal ma'am's. So I request her to please, ma'am, please unmute your microphone. And if you want to say something about Nutri-Knowledge. Over to you, ma'am. A few lines about Nutri-Knowledge. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Oh, it has come. It was really such a wonderful webinar. And the last part, that is the next generation of me, they are thinking so much. They are means expressing so much on the subject. and Anindita said actually correctly, this is the main aim. This is the aim of this nutrition month and today's program. So, as instructed, I just, right? Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you just
Am I
have to
audible?
touch the screen. Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Yes, ma'am. Yes, I think it's working.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, madam.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you to you. It was your idea. This is the third edition, as you can see. All the participants. Yes, ma'am.
But you realized so nicely, wonderfully. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's the work of the technical team and our students who have worked extensively for this. And everyone, every participant would receive a copy. There's a wonderful writing that a write-up that our principal ma'am has also given. So over to the next section, over to the last section, over to our students for the final release. Yes, I request Shehnaz and Rinki to take over. Shehnaz, please unmute yourself.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, Shehnaz, you're audible.
Very good evening to everyone. We, the students of Department of Food and Nutrition of Maharani Kasiswari College, me, Shehnaz and Rinki and the entire team have worked extensively throughout this month to bring you the nutritious, the healthy diet recipe to create awareness regarding nutrition for the general people as a whole. Hope Nutritious have reached you every morning and given you a lot of new ideas, a lot of innovative themes, a lot of unique concepts regarding food and nutrition. Next is Rinki. Okay, we have compiled this video taking bits and pieces of all the recipes that have come your way. For those of you have missed the videos will be uploaded on YouTube very soon. You will get all the recipes there, and please check out this small presentation, edited video containing all the recipes. So sit back and have a very nice time and a very happy nutritional month to all of you.
Hello everyone. I'm Dr. Anita Chakravarti, the departmental head of the Department of Food and Nutrition, Maharani Kasiswari College. September it is, and when September knocks at our doors, we know what to do. It is the nutrition month. Yes, previously it was the nutrition week, now it is the nutrition month. This shows us how important nutrition actually is. So according to the directive of the central government, we celebrate this every year with a lot of pomp and gaiety. But this year, since everything has changed, the new norm, we have slightly changed our celebration. We thought, because we need to create awareness about nutrition, we would give you healthy recipes every day throughout September. Recipes prepared by our students, recipes they have thought of, cooked up, and sending your way. So sit back and enjoy the lockdown period, the pandemic period, I would say, and cook these recipes and keep yourselves healthy. Keep watching. That was really amazing. I think it is one of its kind, and the whole month was full of these recipes. I request Shurjotapa to please take over. Yes, Shurjotapa, please continue. Over to you.
Um, Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
So we have come almost at the end of the webinar, and I, Shurjotapa Das, am here to deliver a formal vote of thanks on behalf of Maharani Kasiswari College. First of all, I would like to convey my humble thanks to our honorable game speaker, Dr. Devlina Gosvami Sewell, for her vivid speech on GM versus non-GM foods. On behalf of Maharani Kasiswari College, like to thank our second honorable speaker, Dr. Jm Subbarao, for his valuable speech on dietary diversity. Now, I would like to thank the chairperson and the principal of Maharani Kasiswari College, Dr. Seema Chakravarti, for her enthusiastic support. I would like to thank Ms. Paromita Banerjee for introducing the lecture competition with a brief note on research prospects. I would also like to thank the students of our department for presenting us the nutritious videos. I convey my heartily thanks to Dr. Anita Rai Chakravarti, the convener and the head of the Department of Food and Nutrition, MKC, for coordinating the webinar. Now, I would like to thank the other faculty members of our department, Dr. Shongita Manna, Mrs. Saritri Nondi, Ms. Shejuti Roy, and Dr. Tanima Pal for organizing the webinar. Last but not the least, I would like to convey a big thank to the Dr. Sudipta Ghosh, HOD Commerce, Srimati Orpita Bhaduri Shandal, HOD Computer Science, Sri Amit Chaudhuri, and Ms. Aparajita Dotto, SSCT, Department of Computer Science of MKC, for their technical support, without which this webinar would not be possible. Here, here is the important announcement. The feedback forms will be sent through email and WhatsApp. Please fill and don't forget to submit it so that we can generate the certificate for you. Now, I will like to say my principal ma'am, to hand over principal ma'am to say something about this webinar. Ma'am. Principal ma'am.
Yes, I think ma'am is, yes, ma'am. Just an overview.
What to say? It is splendid, gifted to all participants of webinar. The two speakers delivered excellent speech on various topics. I think food and I hope everybody have learned a lot. We all have learned a lot, and by what I was astonished that what I was saying, that at the very beginning, without knowing what the second speaker will say, that he was also talking about the socio-economic status of our country. Actually, it is not only India. There are other various countries and continents where people really need some way by which they can opt their best food and at best price. That is what they can afford. And we all means educated people, researchers should be with them, and we hope that very soon the situation of this COVID-19 will go by the vaccine, and maybe other medicines will come very soon. And after that, the research in various fields which are being distracted by this situation due to various reasons, we can't go to our office. Many of us are removed from our work, means directly we are not meeting face to face our students. All the online classes are going on, and office work is also going on, and whatever is being possible, we are performing. We are missing the mixing to one another, to each other. For a very long time, I have not seen my teachers, my beloved teachers and other staff, and also my students. And this webinar is a way, and other webinars also, then where I can feel, means we can feel that our friends, colleagues and students are with us. And in such a beautiful webinar, such a beautiful topic, actually subject, which everybody can understand. If one listens, then there is nothing that I won't understand, and I enjoyed a lot. And I express my gratitude to all the people working behind the screen, and who have come in front also. Everybody, to everybody, I express my gratitude, and I hope such big international webinar will give into to everybody in my college and among our students. And last of all, I must say that our students and other participants in the competition, lecture competitions, they delivered their excellent messages in very short time. That part also we enjoyed a lot, and we felt proud that our student-like people, they are thinking so much, and so that we can hope that things will change, the world will change very soon, and everybody will be happy, will be able to take nutrition, to get nutrition properly, and we all will live very happily in this happy world, and the virus will go soon. That's what we all are hoping these days very much, and soon we will be able to take classes and to go to each other, meet one another, and enjoy our job together every day. Every 6 days, we will enjoy to the society, or our own enjoyment. For enjoyment of all, we will serve our people, our country, and our world. And this webinar is what we actually could enjoy a lot. And thank you all for organizing this, and for supporting this, and be with us every moment for such a long time. The participants, especially, it is a matter of joy. We are concentrating for such a long time. Sometimes maybe connection problem was there, at least for me, but it was for a short time. The other period of I was just very much concentrating, because interesting, not just to listen, Just look at, not that, enjoy, and yes, I feel that everybody enjoyed it, and hope such webinars will be organized in near future also. Thank you all. I have finished. Is the connection off?